fight or flight with the support of adrenaline hormone. Ready? So which hormone? Which hormone developing anger movement? Which hormone developing sad movement? Which hormone developing feel good factor? Only adrenaline. When adrenaline released, all kind of activities will run. What kind of activities? Metabolic activity rate increasing, breathing process increasing, blood pressure increasing, heartbeat rate increasing, temperature increasing. So this is the side factors of the adrenaline. Okay, na? Ready. Next we are going to talk about the we are going to talk about the basic structure of the nerve control. Basic structure of nerve control system. Who will act as a fundamental structure for the nerve coordination?
Neuron.
Yes, nerve cell. This is nerve cell. This is basic structure for the fundamental structure for the nerve operations. Okay, na? So if no nerve cell, impossible transmit the messages. So actually nerve cell with cell body and axon terminals. These are the major axon terminals. Okay, na? Cell body and axon terminals. Cell body with, this is cell body with dendrites, ready, and nucleus, and neuroplasm, okay, neuroplasm with granules. Which granules? Yes, Nissl granules. Nissl granules are nothing but ribosomes. Nissl granules. Ready? So cell body with dendrites, nucleus, and neuroplasm. And neuroplasm consists in Nissl granules. Clear? And now you see any one of the dendrite, elongated and developing axon. And end of the axon, you are expecting development of axon terminus. Clear? So what are the major parts in the axon? It is nerve cell body, and axon terminus. And now axon externally covered by a kind of specialized cells. This is nothing but Schwann cell. What is this?
Schwann cell.
Between the Schwann cells, the gap in between the Schwann cells are nothing but node of Ranvier. Right? So gap in between the any two Schwann cells. This is nothing but node of Ranvier. So now you remember one thing already I told you, within the nerve cell, which part developing gyri in the brain? I told you which part developing gyrus, which part developing sulci. Clear? Sulci developing by axon. Gyri developing by
Cell body.
Whereas at the same time, white matter and gray matter.
Gray matter.
Which part developing gray matter? Which part developing white matter? White matter developed by
Axon.
Why? Because axon externally covered by Schwann cell. This is made up of which tissue? Adipose tissue in which color? White
color.
So that's why axon developing
White matter.
Axon developing
White matter.
White
Matter.
matter. Right? Cell body developing
Gray matter.
Gray matter. Okay, na? So which part of nerve cell developing gray matter in the brain?
Cell body.
Which part of the nerve cell developing white matter in the brain? So now how white matter, how gray matter we are classifying in the brain? Can you please? Actually, this is your brain. The extension part of the extensional part of the
Brain.
brainstem.
Spinal cord.
Middle extension part of the medulla oblongata or brainstem.
Spinal cord.
Okay, na? This part completely brain. Forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain.
Brain.
Clear? Right? This region. You remember this is peripheral region. Completely this region is nothing but cortex part. or peripheral part. So you consider any organ, whatever it is, any organ, outer region, exterior part, surface region. This is called cortex part or peri part, peri region. Okay na? Whatever it is, you want to deal kidney, you want to deal heart, you want to deal brain, whatever it is, any kind of organ, external part, nothing but cortex part. Which part?
Cortex.
Or peri or surface. Which part? Surface.
Surface.
Okay na? So cortex or peri or
Surface.
Clear? So surface with which part of nerve cell? Surface with, I told you already. Surface with which part?
Cell bud.
Surface with which part?
Cell bud.
Within the brain, peri region filling with
Wait.
white matter or gray matter?
Gray matter.
I told you already. Which part of nerve cell developing white matter? Which part of nerve cell developing
Gray matter.
This is axon part developing
White matter.
axon developing
White.
Cell body developing
Gray.
Yes. Now easily you can identify this region completely gray matter.
Gray
And
matter.
rest of the core region, the center of the brain with the white
matter.
Why? Because many nerve cells, billions of nerve cells existing as like in the brain. Ready? So this is white matter and this is gray matter. Why? Because peri region completely occupied by cell body. Cell body with gray color. So gray matter, peri region with gray matter. But the center of the brain with white matter. Why? Because maximum part of axon settled in core of the brain. What is core of the brain? I told you already. The peri region nothing but cortex,
Cortex, peri, or surface.
But center of the brain nothing but medullary part. So this medullary part filling with which part of the nerve cell?
Axon.
Why? Because I told you. Why this is looking to us in white color? Because I told you already, axon externally covered by which cells? Schwann cells.
Schwann cells.
But Schwann cells externally covered by which layer?
Adipose
tissue. Adipose tissue generally appearing in which color?
White color.
So that's why axons almost settled in core of the brain. Core of the
Brain.
So that's why axon externally covered by adipose tissue in white color. So center of the brain mostly appearing to us
White color.
But the peri region of the brain appearing in which color? White
Gray.
color. White or gray?
Gray.
Gray color. Okay na? Cell body with gray
Gray
color.
color.
Center of the brain with
White.
color. Clear? So here who will be understand betterly structure of the nerve cell. Those people simply divide what is white matter, what is gray matter in the brain. Clear? Right. Now simply I will draw the diagram. Can you please, I will point some parts in the brain, you tell information. Okay? Right. Can you please guess this part? Extensional part of medulla oblongata.
Spinal cord.
Yes, spinal cord. Along with the brain, you are expecting the extensional
cord.
part of the brain after brainstem.
Spinal
Brainstem
cord.
extensional part nothing but
Spinal cord.
Ready? Spinal cord. Can you please guess this part? This part
Medulla.
medulla oblongata.
oblongata.
And this part pons.
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 Pyroli.
Right. Can you please guess this part?
Midbrain.
Midbrain. So midbrain with 4 types of lobes. Can you please guess this? These two are visible lobes.
Optic lobes.
This part only for the visibility, and this part, the rest of the 2 lobes, and this.
Auditory lobes.
Auditory lobes. Listening process. Okay, na? So midbrain operating your body posture and balance and audibility and visibility. Also. Ready? Simple. No need to buy heart. Rest of the area, mostly the peri region operations are nothing but, I told you, voluntary activities. The peri region operating
Voluntary activities.
What are voluntary? I told you already. What are voluntary?
Walking, running, jumping.
Thought process. What is thought process? Remember,
Remember.
perception, reasoning, logical reasoning, and thinking. These are non-muscular voluntary
Activities.
Reasoning also voluntary only. Perception also voluntary only. Thinking also
Voluntary.
Memory also voluntary. But non-muscular activity.
Activities.
But walking is a
Muscular
which
activity.
muscular? Involuntary or voluntary?
Voluntary.
When you conscious, when you are in conscious, I am in conscious state, you are also conscious state, you can start the work. You can stop the work. These are voluntary. When you are in conscious state, you can operate. Even though I am in conscious state, but I am not operate some kind of visceral activity.
Activities.
That and all
Involuntary.
I am in conscious state, but I may not be stop the
Heartbeat.
heartbeat rate. I may not be stop the working of the digestive system. I may not be stop the functioning of kidney. I may not be stop the pumping of the blood towards all over the body parts, because all are visceral operations which are indirectly operated by medulla oblongata. Clear? And now guess this part. Pituitary. Good job, excellent. Smart answer. Pituitary and hypothalamus. Pituitary and hypothalamus. These two are, and here you should be expected. Here you should be expect. This is pineal. Okay, na? You remember. Perineum and hindbrain. Exclude this part. Only you see here hypothalamus and pituitary and pineal. Hypothalamus,
Pituitary, pineal.
only this region. Exclude rest of the area. Only you can imagine this region. This is only for the chemical operations. So your brain already classified functions into two types. Why? Because to operate muscular activities, to operate chemical operations. Ready? Chemical operations means nothing but to maintain sad movement, to maintain your anger movement, to maintain your hungerness, everything. To maintain water balance, right? To maintain sweating process, to secrete meal, right? To maintain the 28 days menstrual cycle in female, to maintain the secretion of sperm, releasing of sperm by the help of semen. Who will operate all these things? Only chemical.
Okay.
So chemicals are nothing but hormones. Clear? So who will operate these chemical operations in the body? Hypothalamus,
Pituitary, pineal.
Now what is the role of the pineal gland? Pineal gland operations nothing but what time you should be wake up, what time should be go to bed, what time, how much time should be sleep, how much time you should be take rest. Who will deal this? Pineal gland. Pineal gland is secreting melatonin. So melatonin is a special hormone which is regulating your sleeping times. Okay, na? So ready. Now can you please guess which part of the brain operating your chemical activities? Chemical coordination. Hypothalamus, pituitary gland,
pineal gland.
So exclude rest of the area. Rest of the area only for muscular activities. But this area, hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and this
Pineal.
This area only for the chemical coordination. Okay, na? So you remember one thing. While you are dealing with the brain, you classify the areas first. How many types? Two types. What are? Which area responsible for the muscular activities? Which area responsible for the chemical activities? So hypothalamus, pituitary, and pineal. This area, glandular area. This area,
Glandular.
endocrine system mostly. This area responsible for the endocrine system and operations, chemical operations only. But this area, muscular, and initiating here, skeletal activity. Here,
Cerebral.
cerebral. This is also muscular activity. And this is involuntary but muscular. Involuntary but muscular. Transferally involuntary but muscular. But this is voluntary muscular. And cerebellum also voluntary muscular. But you get terminate here initiate the